What I do recall is from his stories, he said that when he was young, when he was about 12 years old, sumasama siya sa father niya. So my grandfather was also a trial lawyer. He would have a lot of hearings in the provinces. And whenever it was summer and my dad was not in class, he would accompany his father. And so as a very young man, he got very well exposed to the legal system at a time when the legal system was still working. Maayos pa yung takbo ng mga husgado noon eh. Being a trial lawyer at the time you were at the top of the legal profession. Everyone looked up to you. And as a trial lawyer, people could see justice being done right there in front of them. It's quite different from now, where nowadays the legal profession looks down on trial lawyers. Ang parang nakaangat ngayon yung mga corporate lawyer, yung mga business lawyers, but the ones who really spend every single day in court, yung tinatawag namin yung naglalagari ba, they're no longer considered as the best in the profession. When he was appointed Secretary of Justice, he decided to go after one of the most prominent smugglers and notorious persons at that time, Harry Stonehill.
Doon unang naging bywords si Pepe.
But anyway, what happened was the Department of Justice together with the NBI really conducted a very thorough investigation of Stonehill, and eventually were able to conduct simultaneous raids on several of his offices and I think his residence. During those raids, they were able to recover a lot of incriminating evidence that even pointed to involvement of people in Malacanang in what was happening in terms of the criminal activities of Mr. Stonehill. It made legal history because the lawyers of Stonehill questioned the raids that were conducted, and the evidence they said should be held inadmissible. At that time, the law in our country was that even if there is any problem with the procedure in a search, any evidence taken is admissible. But because of the petition filed by Stonehill, the Supreme Court adopted the American jurisprudence and said, from now on, any shortcuts in procedure will render the evidence inadmissible. That is why every law student in the Philippines knows the case of Stonehill versus Diokno, which is actually a case that my father lost. And a lot of the evidence there that would have been, that he could have used, for instance, to go after everyone else or the other officials who were supporting or protecting Stonehill, was rendered inadmissible.
Nag-away din si DM at si Uncle Joey ron dahil dinitain ng House si Stonehill. Ginawa ng paraan ni Macapagal at ni Speaker Villarreal na makapuga. Kaya sinabi nga ni Uncle nun you may be able to deport someone, but you cannot deport the truth.
At any rate, Stonehill was deported from the country, and that sort of put a closure, quote-unquote, to the case. If I recall, I don't know the dates very well, but I think a few months later is when suddenly my dad woke up one day and was told that he had resigned from his position when he had never submitted any resignation letter or made any declaration that he was resigning. And it turned out that tinanggal siya ni Macapagal. Dad was elected senator in 1963, and then he was re-elected. He ran and was a member of the Nacionalista Party. I recall a lot of vignettes from various periods in his life. Probably the earliest I recall is when I was around 6 or 7 years old. He would take us to the old Senate. They would have sessions at night sometimes, so he would come home for dinner. And during the summer, he would see all his children around and decide to take us with him there. And it was quite an experience for us because we got to see the old senators debate and argue. And of course, it was very different that time than it is now.
Na isa siya sa mga, well, sa mind ko at the time was one of those senators na babantayan mo talaga yung career. Kasi kung magsalita, of course, he was not only one. Tanyada was already there, ano? At tinatawag na natin ngayong parang golden era yan ng Philippine Senate. Napakarami yung intellectuals, napakarami nung mahusay mag-argue. Exemplar sila.
Because most of the senators at that time were legal experts in their own right. So you had people, for example, like Tolentino, you had people like Tanyada, my father, and others who really knew the law like the back of their hand. So when you read the debates before, yung mga old laws, you will notice that they knew every single case that was important in that particular field. At walang nagko-coach sa kanila.
But then, ang taas ng level ng debate dyan sa Senado, mag-enjoy ka manood sa day-to-day na deliberation nila. Kasi talagang ang level nung talakayan ay napakataas. Prinsipyo.
Pinupuntahan niya ng mga law student because for them, they were seeing the law in action. Now, I've spent several years, sometime back in the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee, so I got to watch a lot of our current senators in action. And I'm sorry to say, but they don't hold the candle to the old senators.
I mean, educative siya. Hindi ka magsasawa kasi palagi kami natutunan every day. Halata mo yung well-researched yung mga position. At ang uso at that time was sila mismo sumusulat ng speeches nila. Hindi ghostwriters. Ngayon, malaki na yung pinagbago dyan.
Lawyers would sometimes even cancel their own hearings in the nearby courts and say, Judge, pupuntahan ko muna yan na manonood na kami kay Senator Diokno or whoever was going to appear at that time.
Meaning, there's a separate arena na kung saan yung mga senador ay nagkakaroon ng engagement with each other and with the public based on principles. Ito yung statesmanship. At may kakayahan mag-cross ng party lines, for example, to vote on a law or a bill na may prinsipyo na usapin. Hindi puro horse trading, hindi puro backroom talks.
But after the suspension of the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus by Marcos in 1969, he resigned from the NP and became an independent. And was actually serving his third term as an independent when martial law was declared and he was arrested.